Hello and welcome to Mostly Minnesota Music Podcast Edition. I'm Ann Tracy. I'm here with my co-host.
Heather Baker.
We are excited tonight to have Beneath Green with us. Welcome. We've got Mason and Nathan.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. Delighted to have you here with us. We're going to talk a little bit about you've got an album coming out on May 20th. We'll hear more about that, but tell us a little bit about Beneath the Green. You're fairly new. I know you guys have played different stages with Jury and Kiss the Tiger and Colin Bracewell, and the list goes on, but tell us a little bit about this project, if you don't mind.
Ooh, okay. So we are all musicians.
Good start. Good start.
Yeah, no. So the band kind of started when Bridger and I, who's the guitar player, we both played in a band called the Arcanes, and we were doing stuff and playing shows, and then COVID kind of hit, and it kind of took a hiatus, and Bridger and I were sitting bored, locked in home, and we started just kind of independently writing tunes, and then we started having these like hour-long phone calls, and we'd just kind of start shooting song ideas off each other and be like, oh, what did you think of this? What do you think of this? And eventually we were like, well, I suppose it's time for us to think about maybe making these actually come to life a little bit. So I hit up Mason here, who I had known for a little while, and I was like, you want to record some music? And we just kind of started recording as a trio in Mason's like 5x5 attic in the middle of summer with no AC. And we realized that we wanted to we needed more parts, or we were doing a lot of overdubs ourselves, and we are like, okay, well, let's make this music and start gigging live and kind of doing this a little bit more serious. And so we started adding more musicians that we needed to fill out the orchestration, and now we're a 7-piece horn band. About to be, I guess, 11-piece now.
Yeah. Yep. We're adding 4-piece string quartet for the album release show as well. So there's gonna be some string parts that we're orchestrating for that too.
I saw that they were coming, but I didn't realize you'd all fit on one stage.
Oh, we don't.
Yeah. It's gonna be kind of like a game of Tetris, I think, trying to get everything all sorted out. But that's part of the fun of working with so many good musicians, is just kind of getting them, I guess, literally as close together as possible and trying to get it all figured out.
I was going to say you could add an element of them being in the crowd and then like pull out their instrument under their seat and go to town, whatever, like a hidden surprise.
I think that's one we'll have to jot down. Yeah, that'd be good.
Be really cool, yeah.
You kind of started in the pandemic and thing, but you guys have played a lot less, or played a lot is a relative term, last summer. How did that go? How was it to go from the hot attic to
It was busy. It was a lot of fun. And it kind of just went from being a few ideas that were just like, God, I'm bored at home, to now we have actual music, and so far people have been really digging it, which has been a lot of fun. So
yeah, and so our first gig post COVID, I guess, like post COVID, quote unquote, was like an Omni Brewing gig we got. I think it's Maple Grove, right? Yeah. So outdoor gig, really fun to get back out there and just kind of like let loose again. And so we kind of felt that itch and started booking. And since we were so new, we were at the point where we were, pretty much taking whatever we could get as far as gigs. So, we did Driftwood was a big one we did, Driftwood Char Bar. And then Dayblock is another one that we would do, and we still play Dayblock fairly frequently as well. It's a great venue. It's a super fun place. And then, nowadays I think we're kind of getting to the point where we're trying to be a little bit more strategic about the types of gigs we play, and kind of giving them a little bit more of like a like a thematic energy as opposed to just showing up, play a gig just to like get back into it. So we're just kind of planning a little bit more long term now as far as how we're gonna sort of approach the growth aspect of it. Yeah.
We've been trying to make our shows as we move forward less of just like Mason kind of said, just showing up and playing through the set and like passing along to the next band, and more of like an actual like production, like an experience that you go and see kind of happen. So we can maybe touch base with this when we get a little bit more into the album release, but we're going to be doing some really cool theatrical and production stuff for this next show. That's going to be pretty fun, I think.
Anything you can tell us about?
Well, I could tell you, but then I'd have to kill you.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
No, we'll talk about it. I guess we can get into it now.
Yeah, we can definitely get into to the album release show. Yeah, there's quite a few things that we've got kind of lined up to make it sort of a special night. Nate's kind of been
I'm just gonna stop you for half a
Yeah.
second to tell people that the release is at KJ Hideaway
Yep.
on May 20th, so that people, and we'll say it after too, because we just can't say it enough times. But yes, please, sorry,
Don't forget
I
it.
didn't mean to interrupt, but I want
Perfect. No,
people
yeah,
to
that's
have this
good.
in their mind.
Yeah, tickets are $12 in advance, 15 at the door. Show up. It's going to be a good time. Asparagus is playing with us. It's a cool kind of psychedelic rock group. So yeah, should be good. But yeah, Nate, if you want to get into maybe some of the aspects of the show and kind of how we're building it out.
Sure. So obviously for the show we've kind of talked about this, but we're adding a string quartet to play with the band. And they did some recording with us on the new album that's coming out. So it was fun to be kind of turn what was just kind of some recording into fruition, and actually kind of make that a real thing. And everyone's like, I've had people come up to me and they're like, is it true you're doing a string quartet? And so I think that alone is pretty cool, I think. So besides having a string quartet, we're going to be doing, we've been doing some writing and like poetry that's going to kind of segue in between the tunes. That's going to kind of help tell the story. And there's going to be an MC speaker there that's going to, the music's never going to stop. You're always going to, it's just going to kind of continue on through for the whole production. And then while the music's playing, we're having Heart of the Sun Liquid Light Show, who makes like these custom psychedelic light shows. He's going to be making projecting these cool
Nice.
images kind of on us as we're playing. And then we're going to have a live artist who's going to be completing a painting while we paint or play. That will be revealed at the end of the show. And then we're partnering with Flavor World and Flavor World Records. So we're going to make some limited edition Beneath Green Flavor World t-shirts. And then we're also going to be recording the entire thing with multi-cams and out of the board, and we're going to be putting together a full video of the whole production and releasing that out. So
That's great.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead, Ann. Sorry.
I've been watching the Flavor World video already, which is great. You get a couple of songs out there that way.
Yeah, and those guys are great too. Like we're super lucky to have them around, and just kind of help us, kind of achieve the vision that we're going for. And when we brought it up to Drew over at Flavor World, probably about like a month and a half ago, maybe 2 months ago or something, and he was immediately like super excited to work with us. So, and he's such a cool guy, and I think it's just going to come together really well, and it's nice to have those connections that can really give us the extra oomph we need to get a really good production together.
I was going to say, I like how you're offering all the sensory of different things. I mean, your music does anyways, but then just all the other elements it does. I was wondering what this band offers you as musicians compared to maybe some of the other projects you do, and it seems kind of like a Willy Wonka of all the things a little bit.
Totally.
very eclectic for sure.
Yeah, I'd say, I mean, the nice thing about this band is that, it kind of came together very naturally, which was super nice. As far as the musicians that kind of came on board, and we all work really well together. It's a very open environment for everybody. With this new album, we have, I think, I want to say 5 of the 7 core musicians have a song that they wrote, or have aspects of the songs that they specifically wrote. So it's very open in that sense. You know, a lot of times people come in with an idea, we work through it, kind of grind it out, and just kind of mold it into what Beneath the Green is, you know, and we're just kind of sort of figuring that out for ourselves at this point too, which is super nice. But it kind of seems like we're starting to find a trajectory as a group, and you know, we're just kind of growing together, and that definitely it's super nice, and very like natural evolution, I think. So
I want to talk a little bit about the music too. It's music that really appeals to all ages, which is fun. I mean, it's very classic. It's very horn forward, almost bluesy, almost jammy. It's yeah. I mean, what are some of the influences? What are, you know? How would you describe it?
rattle them off.
Yeah, I guess we found that it's easier just to list off people that we enjoy listening to than try to define what the sound is. I'm a huge Beatles fan, which is like the most cliche answer, and I hate leading off with that, but like I have to, right? So we're also heavily influenced by Floyd, which here we go, 2 for 2 with super cliche artists, right? But other than that, I'd say we borrow a lot of sounds from like Chicago, Steely Dan, Billy Joel, and then, you know, we have some weirder, you know, there's some Tame Impala, I suppose, in there, and we listen to, you know, we're all with 7 people, everyone has, you know, a little bit different music taste, so it's interesting how everyone kind of brings their own little ideas of how things sound and how things should be, and then we kind of figure out how we piece them together into a cohesive sound.
Yeah, a lot of times when people ask, I usually try to wrap it up with like psychedelic pop fusion or something like that, I guess. Like if I had to put a word to it, that's kind of what I've sort of migrated to. But I feel like it doesn't
Those
even.
3 words, Mason.
Yeah, fair enough.
You got
Yeah.
that too.
All right. Yeah, I feel like that it doesn't even like necessarily encompass everything that we kind of mess with or experiment with, you know.
I was gonna say, I like the element, oh, sorry, Nathan, that you kind of get into a groove and then it kind of goes into, you kind of pivot throughout the song to something else, which I think it was Rain Check where I'm like, it's like a jazzy disco sort of. And I don't know why I'm saying that, because that's not, but it has that groove and then the horns. I don't know. I love it.
Thanks, appreciate it. Yeah, that one was written by Alex Woods, who's our keyboard player, and he is just like a killer musician, killer composer, killer teacher too. We have like 3 teachers in the band as well, which is kind of cool. And so there's a lot of music education experience in the band too, which is nice. And that also harkens back to, you know, kind of working together as a band. It's very easy for us to communicate effectively with each other because we're all kind of on the same page as far as like, you know, what we've learned in school, or, you know, how we've kind of come to terms with like music theory or understanding kind of the intimate aspects of it too. So
It's essential with 7 people in the band.
oh yeah.
Especially if you've got 5 who are writing songs. I mean, how do you kind of hand the baton to whoever's written the songs, or how does that work out?
Yeah, so usually what happens is someone comes in with a song structure, chords, and then from those chords, horn lines, things, we kind of give them the structure, the bare bones of it, and then people can kind of come up with parts or find ways to make the part maybe a little bit more interesting, or sometimes there won't even be a part there and it needs to be figured out. So like a lot of times like there won't be a vocal melody and I just, you know, I'll figure out a vocal melody on the spot, or there might not be a horn melody and Mason just comes up with a little horn line that's like, oh, this sounds really cool there, or Mason, I liked what you did there, but maybe try this instead, or like do this. And it's very collaborative, but usually there's one person who kind of takes point with like the direction and kind of makes a little more decisive decisions. But everyone still kind of has freedom to insert their own ideas to their individual parts.
And it sounds like if I think of it as like a stone soup, it sounds like it's a different chef every song.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, basically, for sure.
And it offers more every member to kind of flourish a little bit more than maybe they have in the other bands too. Kind of a band, like you said, where you're growing together, but even as musicians individually.
Oh yeah, big time.
Yeah, and I mean, like, the whole point of the whole band, especially with 7 people, is really about coming together and like doing it for the fun of us all being able to do it, as opposed to whatever objective we may individually have for the reasons why we do it. At the end of the day, it's really just fun for us to come and exercise that creativity and kind of create together and create an experience where it's about people coming together to enjoy it, you know, like, and that's one thing we try to cultivate with shows, and is that we don't want, it's like, sure, we're the ones up on stage, but we're all the ones musicking together. Like, if there's a separation between the person making the music and the audience, then it's not, there's no energy there. Like, the whole point of doing it is that it's everyone coming together and everyone's contributing to what is the energy. So even in our songwriting, that's how, and just how we collaborate and how we hang out as friends, that's, you know, everyone's just contributing, and we have a community. And that's, and kind of tying it back, I mean, that's why we all play in so many groups, is that really, I mean, and you guys know this from doing, I'm sure, a million interviews, but like it is just a big community, you know, everyone knows everyone in some way, and it's just really cool. And that's, you know, that's what we want to be a part of. It's just like this community that's about supporting each other, making art, and having fun while doing it. Yep.
That kind of goes with your light show, the poetry, the painting. I like how, yeah, you are supporting all of the artists in your experience there too. And we get to benefit.
Exactly.
So do we. It's fun
Yeah.
for us to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, audience is the reason that we like making music. So
Doing that, I mean, does it spark kind of different ideas, or just, you know, to come up with doing something, or did you always have that in your head while putting together your release show, like, we want to do all these things? Or are you thinking, like you just said, like, you want to support the community a little bit?
I guess when it started off, I was thinking, we were playing a bunch of shows, and I felt like our performance was just kind of starting to be like, okay, we're playing the set again, and we might have changed up a few songs or tried something new, but ultimately it was just like, oh, we're playing another show, and they're playing a show, and they're playing a show. So I was kind of like, I think it'd be really fun to try to do something just a little bit different. And by no means is any of this like a super original idea, so I'm not saying that, but I just thought I wanted to put on something that's just a little bit more engaging, an audio-visual experience, I suppose, if you will, that incorporates a bunch of different art into one production. And it's like, you go there, and then what a better venue than KJ's, where you actually just get to sit down and take it all in, as opposed to just like having a giant dance floor on the ground. Like, the whole point is to kind of experience this, you know, creation of whatever it may turn out to be, I suppose.
Yeah, definitely. And I think to add to that too, moving forward with gigs, I think that's more of the mentality, as well as being like I said a little bit earlier, like just being a little bit more specific with the kinds of shows that we cultivate, as opposed to just trying to set up as many shows as possible just to rep the set, or, you know, just get a show in or things like that. Like, we're trying to be a little bit more specific with how we put on shows, and when and where we put on shows as well.
BJ's Hideaway will be a great, and I spent more time there at View Carre, but it's got that speakeasy feel. It feels like old St. Paul, and it feels very collaborative. You're underground. I
Mhm.
mean underground, but it has that feel. I think it'll be perfect. And then the partnership with Flavor World, because Drew has that same sorry very holistic view
Yeah.
of an event.
Yeah. And they've been putting on some shows before too, so and that have been very awesome and really cool. So we're ready to kind of partner with them and even take that to the next level and do a little bit more with it. So yeah, I suppose as we move forward, expect to see more. The word I keep going back to is productions as opposed to just a gig.
Yeah.
That's exciting. I think that makes sense. It seems like such a perfect trajectory for you to kind of start by. I mean, it's hard to say perfect and pandemic in the same sentence, but
I like the
just start.
alliteration though.
Yeah, well, there you go. It does have the alliteration. Thank you. But just start by working, just working online, working over the phone, doing some of that, doing the shows last year you just kind of uh to get them under your belt as a collaboration all together. As I said, you have plenty of experience before that, but now to really be thoughtful about it and think about. So do you think about where you'd like to be in a few years? Do you have
Oh, yeah.
something you're
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's bands that even in this area that I kind of like look up to as like, this would be really cool to be kind of in this position. I mean, like Kiss the Tiger obviously is one. Mae Simpson is another one that we look up to just kind of like as kind of like in the community where they're at. I think that's a pretty solid trajectory. I mean, the first few things that come to mind when I think about that is like doing festivals, or like local events or festivals, things like that. I mean, pretty much every brewery puts on a festival every summer, and that'd be like honestly like a great opportunity, I think, to get into. And there's like local festivals like Midwest Music Fest just happened. That's another one that like would be awesome to get into as well. So that's kind of my thought. And then another big one obviously is like the touring side of things, which with 7 people is a kind of hard to kind of get worked out. But there's been talks of doing like I'm from Iowa initially. I was born and raised in Waterloo, Iowa. And so I have a bunch of connections down there. That's where I went to my undergrad and everything. And so talks of doing maybe like a long weekend in Iowa, going Davenport, Iowa City, Cedar Falls, Des Moines, back up to Minneapolis or something like that, or just doing kind of like short little mini tours, like just a Wednesday through Saturday or something. Things like that would be really cool to start focusing on, especially in the next year or so. I think it would be very beneficial to start cultivating just like a more diverse fan base, like in different cities and things like that. So that's kind of where I personally see it going. I think everybody kind of has a little bit of like a core idea of what they want, but it kind of branches off in different areas and things like that based on their connections and stuff. But yeah, anything to add as far as on your end there, where you kind of see us going?
Making music still. That's the goal. That's what's fun. And if we're making music, and being together and working with each other, that's a win for me.
Nice. I like the idea of playing in Iowa, of building up those connections there. Diane Miller is somebody originally from Fargo, who has now made Fargo. I used to have to drive through there to pick up a kid in Winnipeg all the time. It was
Nice.
going to
Fun
college.
drive.
It's an easy drive, but at least I would always miss her by a week. But I was like, well, it boosts the music scene there, which can only be a better thing. It's it just mixes makes the community bigger and bigger and bigger. And how can that be a bad thing?
Exactly. Yeah. Yep. That's another one that I've considered as well. I play in another band, it's a ska band called Runaway Ricochet, and they have done like a Sioux City Grand Rapids, Bismarck, Fargo circuit as well, which would be another really cool like weekend circuit. Is there's a bunch of it. You can go out to Chicago and Cleveland and Detroit and stuff. So there's a lot of ways we could cut it that would be really cool. And I know enough people who know enough people. We all like we said, the community. It's like this, like the smallest, biggest small community, or like there. I don't know. It's like seems like such a large pool of people. Thanks, man. But in the grand scheme of things, like it just seems like everybody sort of knows everybody or has like a person who knows somebody they need to talk. I don't know. Yeah, it's just there's a lot of ways to cut it.
And it's kind of good to get it started. Yeah, with 7 people, it's hard to start with a European tour. That gets pricey.
Yeah, that would be that's kind of like the pipe dream, but I try to think it a little bit more realistic.
Next
But,
year,
yeah,
2024.
2020.
But you are on a trajectory, and from an acorn builds an oak tree.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
yeah.
and that's just you just got to take it one goal at a time, and really focus in on the logistics of it and how to work towards that. And I feel like we've kind of been reining it in as far as like our cumulative mindset as far as what we're trying to do and where we're going, and everybody's committed and excited and is always happy to get together. And I think it's a good atmosphere here, and we're super excited to see kind of how it grows.
Well, especially when you have so many that write and, there's so many directions you can go. It's not laying all on one person to do the main and then everybody, you have a full pot. So you have many different directions to go. What can you tell us about this album here? I was going to say there's a song too. Now I got to look at That's On Me. I keep hearing it in my head and I'm not going to sing it because that shouldn't be heard, but that's another one that I gravitated to that I listened. What can you tell us about that one?
It's a tune about having these relationships with people who you may not see eye to eye on a lot of different things, and kind of this like idea of like feeling guilty that they don't necessarily agree with you, or like they don't necessarily understand what you're saying, or like where you're coming from, and kind of this idea of just conflict between like ideologies, but at the end of the day it's like still someone you care about, and like that relationship still exists. And it's just kind of like an apology almost for like, I'm sorry that this and this and this like hurts you and you don't feel the same way as I do about this, but still just know it, like saying that I still care, and that even though we disagree on a lot of things doesn't mean that I don't respect or care or love the relationship that is there. So yeah.
I was going to say, so a lot of pandemic period pieces throughout. I'm assuming it
Totally.
seeped in during the time. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Oh yeah.
It's a line again about Sunset Drives, and I was like, oh yeah, that just things that we didn't notice as much, as Heather says, before the pandemic. The things that we missed and the things we learned to appreciate more.
Yeah, of course.
And I think you've captured so much of that. And what makes it interesting is a lot of the songs I've heard seem to be about relationships, but I'm never sure who it's a relationship with.
Yeah, and I think that's the point. It's it could be a relationship with anyone. It's a lot of the music is kind of discussing relationships with people, with significant others, with coworkers, with yourself, and just kind of the relationship as a general community of people. I mean, the album that's coming out and the whole show, the whole concept of Soldiers Line the Streets started when I literally walked outside of my house. I live in Uptown, and after George Floyd, and there was literally just on every single street corner National Guard outside of my house. Like I literally in front of my house there was National Guard members with assault rifles just out front. So at that point I thought of the concept soldiers line the streets. And when I first kind of was thinking about it, it was a very literal, like, look at, there are literally soldiers up and down my street. And then I kind of, the idea kind of morphed into a little bit of talking about this idea. It really morphed and kind of thought about, I teach in Minneapolis public schools. And so we just were on strike this year. And this kind of concept that not actually, it's not the soldiers like that it's now referring to, but it's like this kind of idea that we all need to come together despite differing ideologies and learn how to kind of respect each other and have a mutual understanding of, even though we all come from different agreements or different backgrounds and different beliefs and whatever, we all kind of need to band together and kind of fight back against you know, a lot of shitty things that are going on in the world, I suppose is the way to say it. Sorry if I can bleep it out later, but
Finish that one. I think that was a good one. That's
and
I think you nailed it.
and so now it's this, not literally soldiers line the streets, but it's this idea of like all of us coming together and fighting back against the things that are not working for us as people. And this idea of that we need to be divided and like it's either this or that. It's like this idea that we actually need to band together and kind of fight back and move forward. And so I really like this idea of like a visual of a street, you know, like you're moving down the street. It's like into this kind of like horizon or into like something greater than where we're at right now. And a lot of the songs, all of the songs are kind of dealing with sign of the times, spiraling mental health, loss, and just like a lot of topics that we've all just really explored and experienced over the last few years of our life. And find it's probably kind of hard not to write about that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So you make it sound good. I mean, you know, you've made good wine out of those grapes.
That's a good one. I've never heard that one before.
Well, I just made it up.
Did you make that up?
I mean, yeah, yep. There you
I'll
go.
have to steal it, write it down. That could
You
be a song,
absolutely.
Mason.
It's all yours. It's all yours. I mean, because there very much is. So there's that, and it is the sign of the times. You could, you know, we listen to it, and especially if you live in the Twin Cities, if you woke up and there were, you know, soldiers outside the street, I can think about, you know, I've spent a lot of time in Belfast. I can think of other places where that has happened too. But you have that snapshot in time. But there is still, there's a timelessness, as I said. This music is for all ages. It's very classic in a lot of ways.
Yeah. I mean, and really, I mean, the themes that we're exploring right now are nothing that's new. We've been exploring these themes, and you know, we've been trying to figure out these same problems since, you know, first civilizations. So, yeah, I guess in that concept, it's not necessarily new. You know, we've been doing this forever, but it doesn't mean we have to, right?
I was going to say, I like what Anne alluded to before, too, the openness of the lyrics, that you aren't, you know, it's not a cut and paste, this type of person and that type of person. It leaves it open so people can interject themselves, which is maybe more present now than it has been in the past.
Totally.
Fingers crossed it gets better.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Keep writing it, please.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited for folks to be able to listen to it. I'm hoping that I'm hoping that I can make the show. But you've got a show
It's
coming up.
recorded now. I'm holding you to that.
Well, yeah, there you go. I gotta. Yes, I've got one out of town thing. I gotta make sure that's not it. But you've got a show coming up. It's not this weekend, because on the 13th.
Yep.
I'm gonna quit trying to remember what today is. You've got a show
Alright.
coming up on the 13th. Tell us a little bit about that.
We're just we're opening. I think we're actually the very first opener for a band called Bloodline. and Kokuka, and then Joan. And yeah, we hopped on the bill just to kind of meet some new people and have a little bit of fun and get a nice little, warm up of the set before we actually give it a shot the next weekend. So it's not the full production on the 13th, more of our traditional show, but the music's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be really cool. And then this one's not officially, actually, I think it's probably officially announced on Ice House's website, but we haven't put it up yet. We're going to be playing at Ice House on August 5th, which is a little ways away, but we're going to be partnering with good friends of ours and a band from Anaheim now. They're originally from Duluth, called One Less Guess. We're going to be called Spice is Nice at the Ice. And we're going to be doing, again, a little production, kind of like this one, with a few new elements. And I was telling this earlier, but first 50 tickets sold, I believe. We're going to get some custom Beneath Green One Less Gas hot sauce that's going to be made from some friends of ours up in Duluth. So you're not going to want to miss that.
Yeah. Come for the hot
That
sauce.
is fantastic.
Not the
Yeah,
music.
you're
No, the
choosing-
music's going to be bad.
Come on now.
You are choosing some great places because the Ice House is great for. So did the Conceptual. They just did Stone
Yeah,
Baby with.
And Bridger
with Kiss the
plays in
Tiger.
Kiss the Tiger, so we obviously have good relationships with all of them in the band. They're all really awesome. So,
Nice.
a lot, obviously they are really inspiring, and what they're doing is super cool. So we'll follow in their footsteps, do similar stuff that's really cool like they are doing. So.
I was going to say it was really interesting. I went to the first one and the last production of the Stone Baby, and to see each musician grow in the production, rock opera, whatever type thing, was really cool. So when you had first said that, I think it adds so much of your own element and your personality that we get to see too on stage, along with the instrumentation there.
Yeah, definitely. Very excited.
I will include this in the notes, but where's the best place to find you? Yeah, online.
I guess the most active and most up-to-date information usually hits Instagram first. And then you can find us on pretty much every social media platform. Instagram, the TikTok is emerging, a little slow to the game, I suppose, but it's on its way. And then we have our beneathgreenband.com.
Just beneathgreen.com.
Just kidding.
Yes.
Don't quote me.
Beneathgreen.com.
Him.
It's the website. Yes.
Nice.
So yeah, you can find us. Just type in Beneath Green.
Yeah, YouTube as well. We've got some little bit of footage on there, and then once we get that live set recorded, we've got a couple other live sets that we have as well, that we kind of slowly trickle onto the YouTube too. So
Great.
Oh, can I ask one question? Do you have any thought of the design for your shirt that's limited for your album release too, or is that Drew or Flavor World?
All Drew at Flavor World. He has full creative reign. That's the way it should be. He's the artist there.
Yep. And we have a good relationship with Drew too, and we've had a lot of chats with him, and I think he has a pretty solid understanding of kind of where the band is coming from, some of the themes that we try to capture, and so I totally have complete faith in Drew to knock it out of the park.
Me too. He's good.
Excited to see what?
I think there's only going to be 5 shirts total made. So they're
Wow.
going to be limited.
No! Oh my God, you're killing me.
Yeah.
Tell Drew, no sleep.
We do have other Beneath Green merch, but the Flavor World is going to be
Okay,
limited.
okay.
Mason, Nathan, thank you so much. It was great to hear about Beneath Green. And you
Yeah,
got the Soldiers Line the Streets coming out on May 20th. and the show is at KJ Hideaway. The production is at KJ
Yep.
Hideaway. So it's
The audio visual experience.
extravaganza.
Yeah, that's
Cool.
right. We're having a brainstorming session now, right?
Yeah.
It's nice, exactly. Yes, yes. Well, thank you. It was fun to listen to the music. It's fun to meet you guys, and I said I'm hoping to see you on the 20th.
Yeah.
Totally. Thanks for taking the
Yeah.
time.
Much appreciated.
Thanks, guys.